Barely 3 hours after my wife settled into our new home, the neighborhood association came knocking, not to welcome us, but to judge whether we belonged. My name's Tom Harper, and we just moved into 27 Willow Creek Road, a weathered oak cabin my grandfather pieced together decades ago. The planks still carried a faint whiff of sawdust when the summer sun hit them, and the pond out back shimmered with memories of childhood evenings, its air thick with cedar and nostalgia. I'd spent my youth here, fishing off the dock, listening to frogs croak under the stars, their chorus loud enough to drown out the world. I brought my wife, Sarah Bennett, to this place for a reason. She'd just returned from a brutal tour overseas, the kind that leaves scars you can't see. I figured the calm of Willow Creek, with its slow mornings and predictable small-town rhythm, might help her find her footing again. We were still unpacking boxes when the knock came, 3 sharp raps. Not the friendly tap of a curious neighbor, but a sound with purpose, like a gavel demanding attention. I brushed my hands on my jeans and opened the door. There stood a woman, mid-60s, in a tailored gray blazer over a pristine blouse, her silver hair clipped as precisely as her words. Her eyes scanned me like a security guard sizing up a stranger. "Are you the new residents at 27? She asked, her tone implying the address itself was under suspicion. "Yes, ma'am," I replied, keeping it polite. "We just moved in today." She offered a smile as thin as a razor's edge. "Margaret Ellison, Willow Creek Association President. I like to meet new folks and ensure we start on the right note." That right note didn't feel like a greeting, it felt like a line drawn in the sand. Sarah appeared behind me, still in her faded army tee, sleeves rolled up, a streak of dust smudged across her cheek from hauling boxes. Margaret's gaze flicked to her, and something shifted in her expressione, tightening, a flicker of disapproval, like she'd spotted something she didn't trust. "I do hope you'll keep your property neat," Margaret said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "We've had trouble with people bringing outside habits." Sarah didn't flinch. Her voice was steady, but I caught the steel beneath it, honed from years in high-stakes situations. "I've lived in a lot of places," she said. "Some rules are worth keeping. Others aren't." The air thickened with the weight of that pause. Margaret clutched her clipboard tighter, her smile unwavering, but her eyes cold. "Well," she said, "we'll see how you settle in." Her heels clicked down the path as she left, each step a calculated beat. I started to close the door, but Sarah wasn't watching Margaret. Her eyes swept the street-parked cars, shadows between houses, the glint of a window across the way like she was mapping a battlefield. She pulled a worn black notebook from her pocket, jotted something in neat, deliberate script, and tucked it away. "What's that?" I asked. "Just keeping track," she said, her smile unreadable, equal parts reassurance and warning. "Of what?" I pressed. "You'll see," she replied, and I felt a chill, like she'd already glimpsed something about this place I hadn't. The cabin felt heavier after Margaret left, the air charged with unspoken tension. Sarah didn't say much, just sliced open another box with slow, precise cuts, unpacking books and a chipped mug she'd carried through her deployment. Her eyes, though, were elsewhere, distant, like she was scanning for threats. I told myself it was just the move, or maybe Margaret's cold welcome had rattled her. But Sarah had faced worse than nosy neighbors. By dusk, we were on the back porch, coffee mugs steaming as the pond reflected the fading light. The smell of barbecue drifted from somewhere down the road, mingling with the cedar breeze. Sarah stared at the tree line, her voice low. She came too soon. I turned. "Margaret." She nodded. 3 hours after we arrived. "That's not a welcome. That's a probe." I tried to laugh it off. "It's just association nonsense rules, forms, petty gripes." Sarah's jaw tightened. No, she was testing me, seeing how I'd react. People like her want to know how much pushback they'll get before they decide how hard to lean in. Her tone was clinical, like she was filing a report. Then she murmured, "2 cars." I frowned. "What cars?" She nodded toward the shadows under the cedars. "Blue pickup, gray van. Parked there since before she showed up. Haven't moved." I squinted, and there they were, half hidden, no plates visible, their windshields catching the last light. "You think they're watching us?" I asked, my voice dropping. Sarah sipped her coffee, eyes fixed on the vehicles. "We're not just moving into a neighborhood," she said. "We're stepping into someone's chess game. A shiver ran through me, despite the warm evening air. The gray van's brake lights flickered, just once, like a signal. Sarah's mouth twitched not fear, but recognition. Yeah, she whispered. Someone's watching. The next morning, the pond glowed gold, and the cabin smelled of fresh coffee, but the peace was a lie. On the porch, under a smooth pond stone, was a single sheet of ivory paper, no envelope, no name. The handwriting was meticulous, like it belonged to someone who lived to correct others. Welcome to Willow Creek. Please review our guidelines before altering anything. The word altering was underlined twice, and the faint scent of jasmine clung to the page. Sarah read it twice, her eyes sharpening. She's saying she's already watching, she said. Notice something we haven't even done. I frowned. We just got here. Exactly, Sarah replied, folding the paper precisely. Make someone feel guilty early, and they'll tiptoe to avoid trouble. That's control. She stepped outside, barefoot in the dew, and crouched by the porch's edge, running her fingers along a beam. She stood, holding a small black device, no bigger than a matchbox. My stomach nodded. A tracker? I asked. Not a cheap one, Sarah said, tossing it onto the railing with a clink. Someone wants to know when we're here, when we're not, maybe where we go. Anger flared in my chest. Margaret planted it. Sarah shook her head. Not her directly, but someone's playing her game. She smiled, sharp and calculated. Fine. If they want to play, we'll play. Sarah didn't toss the tracker. She placed it on the porch table like a captured pawn, proof the game had begun. Over breakfast, she barely touched her food, her mind elsewhere. I want to see how fast they notice, she said when I asked what was next. By mid-morning, she loaded the truck with boxes, like we were heading to donate them. Instead, she drove 10 miles out to a deserted logging trail, slipping the tracker under the bumper of a rusted forestry vehicle. Let's see how far they chase a ghost, she said, brushing her hands clean. On the way back, we passed the gray van, now parked on a shoulder with its hood up, a man in a cap pretending to tinker. Sarah didn't glance at him. Too clean for a breakdown, she muttered. Boots polished, hood cold as the pond. Back home, a new envelope waited in the doorframe, my name in elegant script. Inside was a photo of our cabin, taken from across the pond, my study's light glowing from last night. Sarah studied it, then set it beside the tracker. 2 moves in 1 day, she said. They're impatient. My pulse throbbed. Call the sheriff? Sarah's smile was faint. Tom, you married the sheriff they should fear. That afternoon, Sarah vanished into the garage, the clink of metal and soft counting drifting out. She returned with her hair pulled tight, eyes razor-sharp. I'm going for a walk, she said. If Margaret's watching, I want her to know I'm watching back. Willow Creek looked idyllic, neat lawns, birdhouses, the scent of fresh bread. But as Sarah walked, curtains twitched, a shadow moved behind a window, a camera shutter clicked from above. She came back at dusk, sliding a paper across the table. 3 names, 3 addresses, and 1 word. Watchers. Tomorrow, she said, we return the favor. We started early, skipping Margaret's house to hit the smaller players first. Sarah didn't knock, she circled the properties, noting details. A motion sensor by a fence, tire tracks into the woods, a fresh scrape on a mailbox. At Margaret's, the lawn was flawless, every shrub sculpted, a flagpole gleaming out front. Sarah marched up and knocked twice, hard. Margaret answered, pearls glinting, smile tight. Didn't expect you so soon, she said. Sarah's tone was polite, but her eyes were cold. Thought we'd say hi, neighborly-like. She held up the tracker. Found this under our porch. Know who it belongs to. Margaret's smile didn't waver, but her eyes flicked. Never seen it, she said. But Willow Creek has safety concerns. Some of us stay vigilant. Sarah tilted her head. Vigilant for what? Margaret shrugged. For those who don't belong. The words hung heavy. Sarah pocketed the tracker. Good thing we're great at blending in. As we drove off, Sarah glanced in the mirror. The Graven followed, keeping its distance. She's not just the association, Sarah said. She's tied to whoever's running this surveillance. That night, Sarah rigged the cabin birdhouse angled differently. Motion light aimed at the path. Game camera hidden in the shrubs. Insurance, she said. If they're bold at noon, they're braver at midnight. We stayed up, lights low, Sarah baiting them with small moves. leaving the study light on, taking out trash twice, placing an empty box labeled optical equipment by the garage. At midnight, the gray van rolled by. At 1:13, the camera blinked. Footsteps whispered on grass, a scrape by the community board. Sarah pulled up the feed. Two figures, one slipping a cream-colored sheet behind the board's glass. She flipped a switch, and the yard blazed white. The men froze, one hissing, "Abort!" They vanished into the dark. Sarah froze the frame, catching a patch on one's jacket. She took stills, then retrieved the sheet. "Welcome to Willow Creek. Unapproved devices prohibited." Under a UV light, tiny yellow dots gleamed printer microcodes. "This printer talks," Sarah whispered, snapping photos. Doc 07, recovered 1:17 a.m. By morning, Sarah confirmed the dots matched the earlier note, printed at the Willow Creek Community Hub, leased by Margaret's firm, Ellison Solutions, but registered to a David Ramsey, Association Security Liaison. "He's her shadow," Sarah said, pulling up records. "No pay, but he uses their equipment and coordinates, partners." A beige sedan idled outside. Sarah watched it, unblinking. New players. They're nervous. She visited the hub that afternoon, parking blocks away. Over the phone, she described Ramsey's office blinds open, him leaning on his desk like he owned the room. She switched to speaker. "Mr. Ramsey, nice office," she said brightly. His reply was smooth. "Sarah Bennett. I've heard of you." No warmth, just fact. They sparred lightly, Ramsey warning her about standards, Sarah countering with a smile. Caution keeps things interesting. He leaned in. "This isn't a place for free spirits." She didn't flinch. "Good thing I'm not here to please anyone." Back home, a card waited. David Ramsey, Community Liaison. On the back, "We should talk before this gets messy." Sarah eyed it. He's escalating. The next day, Ramsey texted, 2 p.m., boathouse, alone. At the pond's edge, Sarah met him, calm but unyielding. He offered an arrangement, stop digging, and the association would back off. Sarah laughed. "I don't forget." He handed her a notice, property violation hearing. Failure to appear, eviction. Sarah's jaw tightened. "They want me in their arena," she said later. "I'll go, but I'll control the stage." Sarah dug deeper, finding a notarized lease signed by a dead woman and $20,000 in unlisted association funds funneled to Ellison Solutions. A contact from her past sent a file. Ramsey's contractors, ex-federal security, one disciplined for misconduct. At the hearing, Sarah laid it out: fraudulent lease, misappropriated funds, hired intimidation. The room buzzed. Margaret's smile cracked. Ramsey's composure slipped. A board member tabled the violations, and Sarah whispered something to Ramsey that left him pale. Days later, Sarah filed a fraud report with county records showing an undisclosed $50,000 fund signed by Ramsey and Margaret. Investigators arrived, escorting them out as neighbors watched. An official nodded to Sarah. "Major Bennett, we'll take it from here." Ramsey's head snapped up at Major. Sarah didn't react. A week later, a note arrived. "You play well. See you around." Sarah stared at the pond. "Some games don't end, Tom. They just shift boards."